Hi, everyone, and welcome to Youth Amplified,
a podcast that inspires, empowers, and connects. I'm Brian.
And I'm Ronna. And in the spotlight today, bullying. You can't log out of this.
We're joined around the table today by Peter, Zarif, Vince, and Australian Local Hero of the Year, founder of Turbans for Australia, Amar Singh. Welcome, everyone. And
Thank you.
Let's kick it off, Ronna.
Let's do it. All right, Peter, we'll start with you.
Of course.
So, what does bullying really feel like? And why do we still struggle to talk about it?
Well, I'd say, I guess a way to picture how bullying feels. You ever see the movie Groundhog Day, where Bill Murray, he lives through the same day over and over again? I feel like bullying feels more like that, but waking up to the same punch in the gut every day. Especially since most bullying, it happens in places that you go frequently. School, work, places like that. That's where bullying occurs from. And if you go there frequently, you're going through the same pain every time. And I like to say, I think people struggle to speak up about problems they go through. People don't want to make a scene about it. It's sort of like the bystander effect. No one wants to, how do you say it, like, be out of place. And that's why I think people struggle to speak up about bullying.
No, true. What do you think of it?
I think it's quite right, because a lot of time people want to be cool and not be the odd one out to call it out, because it does take courage to stand up against something.
Yes.
So that's a very, very good point. And a lot of time people just think, oh, it's not me. Why should I bother? You know, because the person is the bully, they might be scared of them, or they might be friends with them, or they might be in good terms. They go, why would I turn that tide on me? Right? If he's going somewhere else, let it be in his happy place. But again, I think it's very important to call it out for what it is, because if the other person who's the victim can't, that means you should have.
Peter,
Also,
the question.
of course.
If bullying was a villain and it's in a video game, what would it look like? And how would you defeat it?
Well, I'd say bullying is kind of like the invisible enemy. It's not an enemy you'd expect to see or feel. How do you say it? It's an enemy you don't realize you're going to face against until the problem happens. And then it's like, when you go back and forth from one place to another, it's like, I'm going to feel that again. I have to go through that. And some people, of course, like, as some people say, pressure creates diamonds. So you may be able to become more resistant to things like that. But pressure also creates rubble. And if you go through the same thing again, you could also just be in a mess. Your package is ruined.
The way I see it, it's just like if we're a boss in a video game, it's just kind of like probably a boss that like gives you a lot of like debuffs, and it's like over time, it's like your defenses get lowered, you take more damage. You know, like at first it doesn't seem like that much, but then over time it actually like starts like really hurting, and like you need to do something to like deal with it before it gets worse. So that's how I see it.
Very true. Now, how about from video games to social media platforms? You know, should social media platforms be held responsible for the bullying that happens on there?
Definitely, I think, because I was talking with another friend last week that in the sort of older generation, in my schooling, right? I did my HSC in 2000. Many of you probably weren't even born then, right? We didn't have social media. If you were bullied, it was bullied at school or on the bus or at work. It stayed there, and then you got to your safe place. But now, social media and mobile phones, the bullying never stops. Because they might be following you on social media, they might be, putting comments on a mutual friend that you see, and they're targeting you. So that again needs to be in place to how do we safeguard the victim. Because again, using your example of the video game, it chips away at your sort of being, at your confidence, and then all of a sudden it all stacks up and you go, I'm not worth it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Valid.
Yeah. Leads us to the next question, Brian, really. So, Zarif, I'll go to you. How would you log off when bullies have or actually live in your school, your group chat, or in your mind?
Yeah, so what I think is, in the end, your life is your own. You are shaped by the boundaries you build for yourself. You build that self-worth, that self-respect, your self-value, you know? And you decide what gets to stick with you and what you choose to let go, what you choose to log off from, as to say. Also, surrounding yourself with people that truly know what your value is and who, you know, they appreciate you for who you are is incredibly empowering for someone that is currently being bullied or has been bullied. Surrounding yourself with a support system, it makes you realize that there are people out there that know you for your worth. And logging off in that respect means you're separating from the negativity and surrounding yourself with positivity.
Now, Vince, over to you.
Yeah.
If your story were turned into a movie, what would the title be, and who would play your inner superhero?
I guess it's gonna be like the misadventures of Vince de Guzman.
There you go.
It's like, probably, yeah, because it's like I realized that in my life it's just like a lot of like many like different things that are happening, and it's like yeah, like when it comes like I don't know, like high school, like I've had my like fair share of bullying or whatever, and it's just like now that I look back on it, like back then I didn't really understand it as bullying, but then I look back at it now and I'm like, oh, that was bad. Because I know like how much like all of those experiences back then affected how I act now. And I think it's like all of that like unhealed trauma like sort of led from one misadventure back then to like a couple more misadventures now. Like it certainly led to like some yeah, all of that like unpacked trauma from the bullying back then sort of led to some more misadventures now, like a lot of like disagreements and arguments with my friends who like, you know, were there to support me, but then it's like you know, like sometimes I would get like really anxious, and it's like I would perceive something as like, oh, were they like trying to hurt me or something? And it's like, yeah, like it's led to some arguments at some point, but like I've pretty much like managed to like patch a lot of those things. So, yeah, so
Yeah.
I guess that's
Good for you to have been, you know, to be able to you know, package these things away.
yeah. I had to like learn how to heal without them, because it's like, you know, like a lot of people say that like it would be great to have closure, but closure isn't something that you can just demand from people who have hurt you.
Very good point.
The best that I and other people could do is like heal by yourself. Learn down the line that like everything that happened, like one, not your fault, two, they were bad people, and like three, again, it's not your fault. So yeah.
Stuff.
No, that's excellent. So the misadventures will stay.
I hope I won't have any more misadventures, but as long as I would have adventures, that would be nice. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's one fact. It's your fault.
yeah.
It's never your fault as a victim.
Yeah.
It's always the other person, the perpetrator.
Yeah.
That's their fault, not you, because you're going about your life.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Actually, that brings me to a part of Amar's acceptance speech when you got the Australian Hero of the Year out in Canberra. The part about the lunchbox, Amar. I thought it was very powerful. If you want to remind us a bit.
Well, that'd be hard. Even I don't remember what I said. It was such a bubble, you know.
Yeah.
But I think, again, even before that, my story, because I arrived in Australia when I was 15, I went to school here in Campbelltown. So I started high school. Then I told the story that, you know, we're like you know, like we all start our lives, especially migrants, out of a suitcase. You know, when we know that we're moving, we wrap all our life up into a suitcase, then we open up in the new country and then start from there, right? Again, that whole lunchbox story with that verb like so. You know, we all contribute something to the society. And now it's great to see that our society in general is more accepting of multicultural and ethnic societies. And, you know, back in the day when I was at school, I think if we spoke to another friend, not that we're any Indian speaking in my school, the people would say, oh, speak English. Now that whole thing is changed. This is great because the people that realize being bilingual is an asset. It's not something that you need to get rid of or being proud of your food or your heritage or your culture. So it's all about being who you are. And it's never should be a condition to say, hey, you've got to blend in and look a certain way. Because no two people can. Not even twin brothers will do or, look the same way. It's just the way life is. So I think for me, it's very important that everyone maintains their individuality, their own culture, and be themselves. And should not be forced into being or accepting something because that never works.
Zarif, over to you. In your mind, what would a truly safe and respectful online or school environment look like?
Yeah, as I'm a student currently at the moment, I would say that a safe school environment would be a place where people feel safe before they feel useful or, smart. And they feel heard by their peers and also their teachers. And it's also a place where silence isn't seen as neutrality, but something to be seen as subtly challenged. So, break the conformity, break the norm of being silent to what's happening or confronting the bullying. We have to challenge that. And it would be a place where differences are acknowledged and are celebrated and not just, disregarded or treated as different. We need to celebrate diversity and we need to acknowledge that people come in all shapes and sizes and colors. So having a place that's celebrated for being diverse is the first step to confronting bullying, because bullying comes from a lack of empathy, a lack of understanding, and that comes from not accepting that there are differences in our world. So accepting difference is the first step, I'd say.
Brilliant. Do you have anything you'd like to add to that, Peter?
No, I'm not really at, but I guess. I guess you can say it. I guess where he said about not being silenced, being able to speak out. I think Australia, we're very lucky to be a individualistic society, where it's more promoted to be different, to speak out, and to think for yourself instead of a community.
Yes.
And I think the individual mindset, it's a good way to start on. A good way to prevent bullying, as instead of trying to fit in, trying to stand out is a good way of is a good environment for school, instead of trying to bully someone into a square.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where a lot of bullying comes from. It's trying to conform to society and all these insecurities, putting someone down to make them conform. I think it's more powerful, instead of trying to fit someone to a square, let someone be a different shape, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Put into an analogy.
I love how you put that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
I think, again, it's just respecting people's opinion, their individuality. We just go forward from there, that everyone comes from a different culture, a different background.
Yeah.
Like that. You live two lives. You live a life when you're at work, you live a life when you're at home. You have your own culture at home, or own things at home that you do. And that's how life goes. People shouldn't be forced into a sort of funnel where you must pass through this to be in Australia, to be a human being, because human beings come from all walks of life.
That's right.
So again, respecting that, but I think also I would urge people, like in, say, school groups or peer groups who aren't being bullied, to stand up and protect the person who's being bullied. Because that's very important, because again, going back to our previous thing, if you're not being part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Right? The solution would be to help that person out, to wrap around and go, hey, to give them the good experiences that the friend should, that not everyone's a bully, and they should be able to differentiate and make a decision for themselves. It's a whole set of scenarios, right? People can see. So again, that's my sort of 2 cents worth of advice to someone, that you should step forward and protect this person.
Vince, talking about stepping forward, what's a small action, Vince, that you think we could take to change the culture around bullying?
It needs to start from home, where the parents need to tell the kid that what is okay and isn't okay, and especially as a kid, in a diverse country like Australia, they will see a lot of different unique people that they probably have never seen before, and they will be different from you. And it's okay to ask questions, but you also need to keep in mind that it's okay that they're like, different, that they're different from you, that they're not of the same skin color, that they're not of the same like ethnic background, or like further down the line, probably like they're not from the same like sexual orientation, not of the same gender, and all of that.
And I think another important skill that everyone should learn outside of bullying, just in general, is reflection. So reflecting on when you hang out with your friends, looking back at pieces of moments of that time you're there, thinking, was that bullying? Was that not bullying? So for example, I know when I'm hanging out with my friends, if someone's picking on one of the other friends, me or someone else, they would always go up and take their side to make to make everything fair, and he's not being singled out or anything like that.
I think again, just being human. What would you do if you were in that place, right? How would you want people around you that you might look up to go, hey, you did actually bad for me on that. How would you feel? So again, putting yourself in that spot is very important. And that makes more sense than to stand up for someone else, because you wouldn't want that. Absolutely.
Empathy goes a long way, and the courage to speak up.
Definitely.
Yeah, really good. Now, let's think about systems. Zarif, I'd like to ask you. So if we think about systems, what do you think needs to change for bullying to actually stop?
As a student that has experienced bullying in schools and out of school, apart from family being one of the first and biggest institutions that bullying can be prevented, schools is the next one. So I believe that schools should take more action towards preventing bullying and not just treating it as a policy checkbox.
Good.
They should make active change, active movement, metaphorically speaking, in order to prevent bullying and cut it out from the source. Whether it's checking in with the student after seemingly harmless comment, or asking the perpetrator, even if they may not seem like it, hey, was what you said actually honest? Was it meaningful to whatever you guys were talking about? Because schools need to address problems before they get bigger. And I feel like a lot of incidents that take place because of bullying can really be prevented if schools did a better job in cutting it from the source and addressing it right where it started.
Absolutely right. I'm going to leave the last word to Amar on that.
Definitely, I think it's very important, not just a tick box, because the victim wants to see, sort of action in real life, in real time, that the people are listening and adapting to what needs to be done in society. They go, we've got this wonderful policy in place, but the policy isn't working. So again, as we move into different life now, that the technology is taking over our life, AI and whatnot. So we need to be adaptable, because you could write a whole racism policy with AI. Doesn't mean it has the human touch. So that's what's right. And I think we need to adapt with the technology, but also take into part what the human factors are.
Well, I mean, we could go on with this. I mean, there's such poignant and wonderful things coming out from each one of you. But the clock tells me it's time. So thank you, Peter, Zarif, Vince, and Amar for joining us today.
Till next fortnight, let's continue to inspire, empower, and connect. And remember,
Your voice matters.